happened when I visited a secluded island. My friend and I had been planning our trip to Indonesia for ages. The first week there, we had the best time. We rented scooters and drove around and went to temples and beaches. One day we did a cooking class, and I don't know if my friend is just a really bad cook or if something was wrong with her food, but she got seriously sick. She was up all night vomiting, and the next day we were due to go on an island hopping tour. We signed up with a tour group, and they were picking us up at 6 a.m. sharp. Well, one look at my friend, and it was clear there was no way she was joining. I offered to stay and look after her, but she told me to go. I was a bit nervous. I didn't know anyone, and most of the tour group were much older, and all couples. To be honest, I was a bit bored. The islands were beautiful, and we even got to do some snorkeling, but without my friend, I felt lonely. We stopped on this one tiny island for lunch, and then we got a free hour to go explore. I immediately headed off to the jungle and felt relieved to be away from the boring old group. And then something happened. I got lost. I don't mean I just wandered off and I lost sight of the path. I mean I got full-on lost in the jungle. I checked my watch and the hour was up. And just my luck, my phone had no signal and was on like 2%. I'd started running back the way I'd come, but the jungle just got thicker and thicker. I screamed, and the sound felt like it was muffled by all the leaves. Plus, the birds were chirping so loudly. No way would anyone have heard me. Why had I come? I sat down by a coconut tree and just started crying. By that point, the boat had probably left, and I'd end up dying out there. It was so hot, and sweat was dripping off me everywhere. I buried my head in my hands, and that's when I heard footsteps. I jumped up. What if it was a wild animal? To my complete surprise, though, it was a young guy, about my age. I ran straight to him and said, "Thank you for waiting for me. Oh my God, I thought you'd all have left by now." He looked at me confused and said, "Huh? What are you talking about?" "You are from the boat tour, right?" I replied. He shook his head. He was a researcher called Jeff who'd come to the island on his own. But the fisherman who'd brought him had messaged to say a storm was coming, so he'd only be able to come back and get him tomorrow. A storm was coming? Oh no! I asked him if he'd seen anyone else around the island, and he said no one in their right mind was still here. They'd all hurried back to the mainland. I couldn't believe it, but at least I had a companion, and maybe he would let me go back on his boat with him tomorrow. If we made it until then, that is. Luckily, he had a bag of snacks, and when we got thirsty, he shook the coconut tree and caught a couple for us. He looked so sexy as he sliced the coconut open, and I thought maybe this night wouldn't be so bad after all. The storm came, and it was pretty scary, but Jeff built us a little shelter out of palm leaves, and we sat in there together, hiding from the rain. I could feel so much chemistry between us, and when he reached out to kiss me, I didn't object. We spent the whole night cuddling and talking, and we even slept together. It felt like a dream come true, and I couldn't wait to tell my friend about it. The next morning, we woke up, and everything was calm again. We walked to the shore, and the first thing I saw was the tour guide coming back to get me. He kept apologizing, saying they hadn't realized I was missing until it was too late and the storm had come. He told me to get in the boat quickly, and I was in such a panic that I didn't even ask for Jeff's number. He said he'd wait for the fisherman to come get him, and he'd see me around. My friend didn't believe me, so I said I'd find him on Facebook and prove it. But soon our holiday was over, and I still hadn't found him. When I got home, I asked my sister to help me. She's really good at stalking guys. She typed Jeff into Facebook and then typed Indonesia and researcher, and for some reason, the first profile that popped up was his. I couldn't believe it. My sister was staring at him so much, and I said, "He's cute, right?" And she was like, "No, that's not it, Teresa. He's kind of familiar." And then we looked at his surname and some pictures of his family, and my stomach flipped. No, it couldn't be. But it was. There was no denying it. Jeff was our cousin. I felt so sick. How could this have happened? My mom is his mom's sister, and they aren't close at all. So we haven't seen him since we were babies. I didn't recognize him at all. In fact, Jeff and I didn't even talk about our families. Then my sister dropped a bombshell. She said that while I'd been in Indonesia, our mom and aunt had planned a reunion in the next 2 weeks, and that Jeff would be coming too. I looked at her in shock. My sister is not the kind of person who can keep a secret. So now I don't know what to do. Should I tell my parents everything before Jeff arrives and we have to deal with that?